Well, I think your analysis was very straight-lined. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing frogs.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD. I got that.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
the
an
Chinese
erratic
Mickey
detective
Rodriguez.
is Mickey Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? No, girl, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Kingdom, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hi there, welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show with co-host Leonard Craig. As you would know, Leonard Craig missed a couple of episodes. He's here this evening with us. Good night, good afternoon, good morning to you wherever you are. Thanks for being with us. The Nation of Islam is one of the most known organizations in the United States of America. It is also one of the most controversial organizations in the world. It is regarded by substantial amount of African Americans as a positive organization that they embrace. Its leader is one of the most articulate speaker you could ever listen to, Louis Farrakhan. Mr. Khan and the Nation of Islam not only speaks about Islam, but also articulates profoundly on the nature of American society and the power establishment of the United States. In fact, at one time, Mr. Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam hit the news around the world when the leader of Libya, Mohammed Gaddafi, had donated $1 billion to the Nation of Islam. But the American government said he cannot accept the money because they don't regard it. They don't regard the money coming from a country as Libya as legitimate, or they cited security reasons. So the Nation of Islam is very well known to the American society, but particularly caters for African American interests. The Nation of Islam has a representative in Guyana. His name is Dennis Mohammed, aka Jafar Mohammed. And tonight we will hear about what the Nation of Islam is doing in Guyana, what does the Nation of Islam in Guyana believes about Islam in general, or about American society in general. Welcome back to Leonard Craig, who's our co-host, and I let Leonard Craig lead off after welcoming Brother Dennis Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed, thanks for being with us. That is my co-host, Leonard Craig, and I will ask Mr. Craig to lead off.
Hi, Mr. Mohammed, it's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, sir.
I want to ask you a quick question about yourself before we go into the program. You were born with the name you now carry?
No, sir. No, sir.
You got that name after joining the
That's correct.
The name. Okay.
That's correct.
You lived in America at any time?
I studied in America for some time.
Okay.
Lived there for some time, studied.
So how you became a member of?
That's a very good question. As is customary, anything we do, We begin in the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. We say He's the all-wise and true living God. And give me this opportunity also to greet your audience. The Muslims, Assalamu alaikum. The Hindus, Shanti Shanti. The Christians, Shalom. And for those of you who don't necessarily practice any religion, but you're struggling to live a good life, a pleasant evening to you. It's a very good question, my dear brother. How I encounter the Nation of Islam is, at the time, I was at the tender age of 21 years old. From Linden, born and grew in Linden, but I was living in Georgetown City. And two of my friends, after seeing me visiting all of these different churches in Georgetown, the Christadelphians, the Anglican, the Catholic, the Assemblies of God, the Seventh-day Adventists, they would see me from time to time visiting many churches trying to find the truth. Nevertheless, I never take any of those churches seriously. But my friend, and you would know him, Mr. Kissoon, Shanghai, Kashif in Shanghai.
Yes, Abu Shanghai.
They came to me and tell me, man, there is a brother that we would like you to listen to, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And without hesitation, I took the tapes from them and I started listening. And Minister Farrakhan was speaking to something in me. He was getting deep into me as to where I was at that time. Because at that time, I would put it this way, this brother literally was involved in everything. And I would say, thank God that I met a man like Minister Farrakhan that actually put what is called the master grip on me to get me out of that condition. You name it. The only two things, Mr. Kissoon, I never get involved in is pimping women, and I was never gay. But you think about anything else, this brother was there. So when I met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I had to make some decisions. I had to look at myself. I had to critique myself. And of course, I had to make some adjustments. But in the Nation of Islam, we don't just get a name like that. We have to be qualified for a name. So when you come to the Nation of Islam, they give you an X by your slave name. My slave name was Gil. Many of you would have heard about Malcolm X. But he was not Malcolm X, he was Malcolm Little. Coming to the Nation of Islam, he was given an X. X means unknown. He don't know his past name. So after you've become qualified now and registered in the Nation of Islam, it is on the leader of the Nation of Islam at the time to bless you with a name. And I was blessed with a name in 1997, Muhammad, remaining my name that was given to me by my mother, which is Dennis. Mr. Kissoon asked the question to me a few days ago. So how did this Jafar came about? It was a brother, Imam from Zanzibari, Tanzania, that used to call me that name. And that name became popular in the community of Linden. And, everybody would call me Brother Jafar, Brother Jafar. But on my birth certificate now and on my passport now is Dennis Muhammad.
Okay, so Dennis Muhammad. So you retained your mother's name?
Until such time the leader see it fit to bless me with a name, if that ever happened. But in the meantime, you don't focus on that. You focus on the work, which is to uplifting your people.
Okay. You consider your group a religious group?
It is a religious group.
Does your group have pecking order? Like you got leader, vice leader, you got that kind of thing?
That's a very good question. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is sitting in the seat of one Elijah Muhammad. He is the representation of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Under him is what is called a board. Right? He has an assistant in Chicago in Brother Minister Ishmael Muhammad, but after that there is a board, and all others that fall under that board is considered student ministers. So I am a student minister in charge of Guyana affairs. Under that, good question. Under that we have captains, we have lieutenants, we have first officers, and we have privates.
In Guyana you have all of those?
Not as yet. We're working strong to establish all of them.
Have you had personal contact with Louis Farrakhan?
Definitely. The first time I met him, I said to him, after saying, of course, Assalamu alaikum, I said, you're the father I never had. Reason why, my biological father died when I was just 3 months old. So understand, I grew up without a father. And I think maybe, as you always know, gentlemen, broken homes sometimes can lead you to do a whole lot of things. So brother that grew without a father, when I met such a man that take me out of the gutter, because literally I was so deep in the mud, my nose alone was showing. So I appreciated that man so much. So when I met him at the Temeri International Airport, that was in 1996, I said to him, you were the father I never had. And Mr. Craig, he actually made a speech out of that at the Butuka house, because he called his son and asked me to repeat that in front of his son at the Butuka house. Because the point he was trying to make to us is this: he never gave that time to his children. He was always on the road. And why he was giving us that message? Because he did not want us to make the same mistake that he made. He wanted us to split our time between the mission, family, and children. And maybe that's why I'm a family man.
So is it safe for me to refer to you as a minister in the Nation of Islam?
That's correct. Student minister. I prefer to say student, because we're all students.
Okay.
Yes.
How is your group financed?
Financially?
How
it's financed? That's a very good question. It's basically by the members.
The Guyanese members.
That's
you
correct.
don't get money from overseas.
No, sir.
And you send money overseas to Louis Farrakhan?
Well, all of us make our contribution. It's called zakat, where every member has a right out of what he earned to make zakat. So yes, our local members in Guyana and the Caribbean, we do our bit in terms of supporting.
Like how Christians pay tithes.
Correct. So we do our bit. But in terms of our local affairs, we don't seek donation. I remember a year when there was a protest in Linden, not 2012, but 2002, somewhere around 2002, 2003. The brothers saw it on the internet that we had this mass protest, and they took it off of their own to tell me go to Western Union and collect some money, because at the time, all the roads were blocked, nothing coming, nothing going, so you had to get some finance, and I was supported in that way.
Your group, what's the size of your membership in Guyana?
Well,
you would say.
Well, we're not that large, but I learned a line from Brother Malcolm: who say don't know, and who know don't say. That's a line from Brother Malcolm. But we are not that large. Why do I say that, Mr. Craig? There is a Nation of Islam that you see when you come to our meetings. I invite Mr. Freddie Kissoon years ago, but maybe you can't remember that. When you come, you see a group in. There are those that comes out. But there are also those behind the scene, supporters in terms of what you spoke about, finance, supporters in terms of go, supporters in terms I'm here for you, but I'm not ready to join as yet, that kind of thing. So there are those that you see, and there are those that you don't see.
Does the Nation of Islam own property in Guyana?
No, sir.
So where you worship would be private, personal property?
No, it's not. We worship at the Len building in Linden. The Linden Business Center.
Oh, okay.
In the conference room. That's where we keep our meetings every Sunday. And all are invited.
And you don't think that you need to invest in properties in Guyana?
It's a good question. We are already on the ball. We are already close to acquiring our own land where we can build our own institution. We're there already.
And if you do that, would you, or your system, would it allow you to appeal to those overseas to send funds for you to like purchase or build a building or something like that?
It's a good question. That's automatic.
Because in America, the Nation of Islam is an extremely rich organization.
Oh, I wouldn't say extremely rich. I wouldn't say extremely rich, but I would say praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah.
The last time, okay, let me see, at least from my reading of the wealth of religious organizations in the U.S., the Nation of Islam is said to be worth over $100 million US.
Right.
And I think they were evaluating just what they have. I think it's in Chicago, is it?
The head office.
Right. That location alone could be worth that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in my opinion, they have a lot of funds.
Yeah, that's true. But you see, what we learn to do, Mr. Craig, what we learn to do is to depend on what we also have local. Mm-hmm. And locally, we have a lot of persons that would just support us. But our leader is a man with a very kind heart, and he's always there to support. So I'm saying to you, once we start that building, in Arabic we say, Inshallah, God's willing, it's automatic. We will have brothers coming on board.
Well, you must have had to be, let me put it this way. You had to have the clearance of the hierarchy in the Nation of Islam to be appointed the spokesperson of the Nation of Islam in a very important Caribbean country. So how did that come about? Because you're sitting here,
yes, sir,
representing the Nation of Islam. Anything said that is contrary to what the Nation of Islam believe in, you're going to be under fire.
Yes, sir.
So how did it come about for you? It's whether one agrees with the Nation of Islam tenets or its perspective, you can't deny the fact that the Nation of Islam representative in a Caribbean country is well makes that person well placed. How did you arrive?
Good question, Mr. Kissoon. I can answer it in one word, but I'm going to explain that one word. In the Nation of Islam, we're not appointed, we're not selected, and we're not voted in. We're anointed. What do I mean by that? The one word, anointed. Like how you may have regular groups would vote, it's happening in some churches as to who's going to be the secretary, who's going to be the treasurer, who's going to be the imam. Some groups vote like that. Our leadership recognize who's the best person fit for the ministerial position, student minister position. Our leadership analyze and see who's best fit for the secretary and who's best fit for the treasurer. So that's called anointment. That's not just an appointment. See, because what we are very afraid of, and we see it happen all the time with organizations, a vote goes in 8 persons or 9 persons, 5 vote for and 4 vote against. Man A end up with the leadership, but he's not fit. But based on the congregation, they like him. Or for the secretary position, this brother ended up with the secretary position because he was voted in, or the treasurer. So man ends up as treasurer, knows nothing about accounts, knows nothing about money, but the leadership is important because the leadership, and you put it right, the leadership has to recognize something in you in order to push you forward and make you the representative of the group.
Well, let's confuse the water. This is very the Nation of Islam has its way of looking at the world, and you will have to carry out that way of looking at the world. You represent it. What I've listened to so many speeches of Farrakhan. I've read so much about him. I can't say that I am not in agreement with many of the things he says about American power. If you grow up in a colonial situation like we have in the Caribbean, okay, people like Louis Farrakhan would make sense to you because he speaks about what the Americans do to people around the world. He speaks of what the Americans do to black people. So what is the Nation of Islam position of what's going on right now in Palestine? It is perhaps one of the cruelest and tragic moments in world history. You have a country that's just going over to Lebanon and to Gaza and just bombing 10-story building, flatten it, and hundreds of people dying.
It's a very good question, Mr. Kissoon, and I'm happy to say that I did join you in the protest that we had a few months ago.
Oh, I didn't notice you.
When it just got started, I was there because the Nation of Islam have a very strong position in that. We believe in Islam generally, there are 3 levels of faith. The first level, that is the lowest level, to hate wrongdoing in your heart. The second level is to do what you gentlemen do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and even in the newspapers when you gentlemen, with pen anything, which is to hate it with your speech, hate it with your pen. And the third level is to hate it with your fist. The Nation of Islam position is this. The Muslims, forget about the disbelievers now. The Muslims are too quiet on this issue. Mr. Kissoon, I learned in slavery that whenever the slave master is beating the slave and he stays quiet, the slave master continue beating him. But once he started to make noise, the slave master would feel a little sorry for him and stop. We see it when our parents used to beat us too. Once you quiet, mommy will continue putting her whip on you. But once you start to holler and make noise, she tend to feel, oh, let's stop. So the Muslims, in my opinion, this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it. The Muslims are operating like cowards on this issue. Mr. Kissoon, here is Israel. Here is Israel and Palestine, circled by Muslim nations. Circled by Muslim nations. And all the Muslim nations are doing their pussyfooting. They're pussyfooting. None of them are not even sending a strong threat to Israel in terms of this is what we're going to do to you if you leave our little brother alone.
And they have bombed Israel for the last 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, but Leonard, I agree with you, but halfway.
You got to remember, many of those nations that you're referring to are allies of America. So
well, we're not getting there yet. I'm gonna get there just now. Matter of fact, as you mentioned it, a lot of those nations, most nations on earth is ally of America and American culture, not those nations. But I'm showing you how, and I'm glad you recognize that, I'm showing you how the reason why they have become cowards, because they have allowed Islam to be infiltrated by America. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, 3 generations after me, he was speaking about himself, will not be of me, meaning the Muslim world will go astray. And we're seeing that manifested in front of us because Mr. Kissoon is passionate on this issue. I listened to you a few nights. You were passionate and you were right. Because here is a man that not the Muslims took him to court, the world court. It was the South Africans that took him to the world court. Where is the Muslims on this issue? They could have filed another case if there is anything like that they could have done, just to show us, oh, I'm with you, South Africa. South Africa had to do it, not the countries in the Middle East. So you're right. They're not just assets, but they're puppets. And rather than worshiping Allah, this is controversial again, I'm going to say it. Rather than worshiping Allah, they're worshiping those nations.
Leonard?
The Nation of Islam, one of their central beliefs is, and correct me if I'm wrong,
yes, sir,
is that God is not an unknown entity. God is a man or within man, and man embodies who God is.
Correct.
And that man is or must be a black man, and that white is inherently evil, which means then that no other race can go beyond sympathizing with the Nation of Islam. That's the farthest they can go. They cannot seek membership and be numbered among those in the Nation of Islam. Isn't that a racist ideology?
No, it's not. You halfway correct. You halfway correct. It is true that we believe that God is in the person of a man. When I look at you, I'm seeing a God with a little g. When I'm looking at Mr. Kissoon, I'm seeing a God with a little g. See, but Mr. Kissoon and Mr. Craig is not the God. There is what you call the God, or for the sake of a better word, the Creator. So we believe that God is not just a spook, God is not just a spirit, but he's a live human being, different from me and you in that he's superior in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. If we comb the scriptures of the Bible, and you gentlemen may know a little of the Bible.
No, he's Seventh-day Adventist. I'm an atheist.
Well, I'm going to tell you something about that just now.
Yeah.
In the Bible,
so he knows more about the Bible.
It talks about God's walk, God sit, God talk. Talk about the voice of God. See? Can a spirit sit? Can a spirit walk? Can a spirit speak? See? So that has to be a man. I'm going to deal with Mr. Kissoon, then I'm going to come back to you. My leader taught me, Mr. Kissoon, there's no such thing as a atheist. Even he that claims that he's a atheist, whenever he's in trouble, who's the entity he's calling on? If you ever listen to the atheists, the first thing that come out of their mouth is, oh God. They're in a plane. The plane going into different pockets. And the same man that claimed that he's atheist, he's holding on something. See? So where's the atheist? Back to Mr. Craig. Now, God in person of a man does not mean that God Almighty could work through the black man alone. That's why I say you got it halfway. If I'm drowned in, Mr. Craig, drowned in, and a white man stretch out his hands, and I grab that hand, and I'm saved, is God work through that white man to save me? What most don't do is take time out to study the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in depth. This is what we say. The Caucasian man, as he is, has only the recessive genes, meaning he could only produce himself. The original black man has both the dominant and the recessive genes, which means he can produce himself and every other people, including the Caucasian man. Many of you see, maybe they have some in Georgetown, those they call albino. Albino children come from a very jet black mother and a very jet black father. And some, because they don't have knowledge, they refer to them as devil whip. But devil whip is the lowest term that you can refer to such a child. The science behind that is that we have the potential to produce even that child that look very light that is referred to as albino. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there was a great scientist called Yaqub, great scientist, and he looked within the original germ and saw what is called a second self. And he went about a process using 60,000 people that last for a period of, just now Leonard, last for 600 years, see? And those people were supposed to last 6,000 years on this earth. Those people are referred to as the Caucasian people. The process that he went about is killing the darker, saving the lighter, killing the darker, saving the lighter, to the extent where he ended up as a very pale man.
Okay. I read a little about that. I heard that explained. But Yaqub had to have lived a couple hundred years to accomplish that. How could you accomplish that in your 60, 70, 80 years of adulthood? Right? Because he started that from the womb. So how is that even scientifically possible?
I got you.
In the 70 years of adulthood Yaqub had on the earth.
Now, what Yaqub had was an idea. It was an idea. What you see going on in many countries right now is an idea. Democracy was an idea that was given to us when we got independence. The democracy still continue. The people that give us democracy, they may be dead. I'm coming to that. I'm coming to you.
Let me just give you
I know exactly why you asked me the question. Right? But the democracy still exists. Now, Yaqub, the great scientist Yaqub, he had an idea. Now, he died even before the first human being was made out of that process. The first human being that was made out of that process is what we refer to as the brown man, the Japanese. Ever wonder where did the Japanese came from? And then the next 200 years saw us bringing forth the Chinese man. And then the next 200 years after that, you get what is called the Caucasian man. That took 600 years. Yakub would have died a long time ago, but his idea live on. See, just like democracy that started when we got our independence in 66, yes, democracy started then with us. They give us independence, and they offer us a system of governance. Did we make an attempt to change what is called a two-party system? I would humbly say no. We made no attempt to change that.
My reading of science, I am not advocating to be a scientist.
Yes.
But we all could read. And my reading of science suggests that, or the evidence that is recorded doesn't support that contention. The closest I've seen that is probably in Brazil and Argentina, where slaves, or the enslaved, I should say, upon gaining their freedom, there was intermarriages, and many of them lived in certain areas occupied largely by whites. And in order to, quote unquote, whiten some of these areas or whiten the country, people deliberately intermarried, got a half or three-quarter white child, got rid of the black person who gave birth to that child, and then that child, who's half white, married to a whiter person, and then Brazil and Argentina, to probably a lesser extent, eventually became a majority white society. And that is the closest that has come, but my reading doesn't follow the Yakub analogy, right? But I now understand, because I didn't get it that way, that it's an idea, right? So I probably could live with that as an idea, but the way I can't remember this book that I think Elijah Muhammad was credited for writing. Message to the Black Man.
That's right.
The way it is put over in that book suggests that Yakub actually carried out a majority of this plan.
The idea was carried out. But the big question, just Mr. Kissoon, before you come in, the big question we need to ask the world, why is it the Caucasian could only produce himself and no other race? Mr. Kissoon?
I have read any social scientist who passed through a university from a colony, from a country that was a colony, would read about the black struggle in the United States. In fact, there are books that led to my political awakening when I was 16, 17, from black Americans, the Black Panther Party, Soul and books like Soul and Ice, and those things have influenced me greatly, Malcolm X. And so I'm in touch with how the Nation of Islam and Louis Farrakhan see American society. And I know he's no fan of Obama. Or Louis Farrakhan feel those people are products of white society that fool black people. What was the I know the Western press. We wouldn't pick up the Western press and see what news they wouldn't carry news of the Nation of Islam on the recent American election about Kamala Harris. But the Nation of Islam would not have supported Kamala Harris' candidacy, wouldn't it? Given all that...
I'm going to answer that. Then I'm going to come back to the Mr. Obama that you raised, right? This particular election, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asked us to vote for the Creator. He said, don't vote for none. Because when we analyze both of them, and if you listen, I know you gentlemen would have listened to the results and why Mr. Trump rather, got the better. It mightn't be that he might be the better of the lesser evil. And people need to stop with this lesser evil, because if you're a righteous man, you don't deal with evil anyway. You know? So why should I vote for the lesser evil? I deal with righteousness. So I want somebody who's righteous. So the minister asks us, after examining the two candidates, vote for the Creator. And you know what's the truth? As religious people, we never give wholly and solely 100% to the Creator. You know? So we didn't get involved in the election, period.
So with those substantial numbers that the Nation of Islam attract, I see the church service overflowing.
Right, $1 million march.
It would mean, therefore, that Kamala Harris lost some black votes there.
Not necessarily, because...
not necessarily. Not necessarily. I mean, I agree. If I had to vote, I would not have voted for Harris nor Trump.
Correct. Well, you're on the same path with us. Right. But if you listen to the sentiments of the people, 10 million Democrats stayed home. Do you know why they said they stayed home? Because it's Israel and Palestine. They said that Kamala Harris and Mr. Biden was moving too slow on stopping the war. I don't think
they wanted to stop the war.
Right, correct. They didn't want to stop it. So 10 million people choose not to vote. And maybe that's one of the reasons why she lost.
Of course.
But I'm going to say this to you. That I didn't say public as yet. When Mr. Trump was running against Mr. Biden, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us that Trump will be the last president of America. Trump lost, and we were like, wow, but the minister didn't hit it right on that one. But Trump got up again. Shake off after went into court. A judgment was waiting on him. Controversy here, controversy there. And Mr. Trump is there again. How, and don't ask me how, because I don't know, how he's going to end up being the last president of America, I don't know.
Before Leonard come in, how is Mr. Khan's health? I understand he's getting on, but he's getting on in age. He's
91 now.
He's 91.
91, soon to be 92.
But at that age, you know, you got to start looking for successor. You can't defy science.
Well, Leonard asked the question, and I answered the successor in that, where I said there's a board. You know, there's a board set up. But God knows best, you know.
And he still worships. He still goes.
Powerful.
He still adjusts the power.
He's stronger now.
He's stronger now than ever.
Stronger now than ever.
I think you may not like the Nation of Islam. You may say, no, I'm a Christian. He's a Seventh-day Adventist. I'm an atheist. But I have to admit that man is articulate.
Well, let me say something on that.
Is articulate.
Let me say something that he taught me. Ask about me in Linden. I'm in the Seventh-day Church in Linden. 7 days have what they call a cultural day. And they invite ministers from all other congregations to just come and make
I was a lecturer at the university at the time, and I've never seen students climb through the window of the large lecture theater just to hear him speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what the minister taught us to do, we go among our 7 days brethren. We go among...
you know, you're 7 days guy. He's a devout 7 day Adventist.
And he's right. He's right, because Mr. Kissoon, let me say this boldly.
You got to convert the man.
No. Mr. Kissoon, if one follow the tenets of the 7 days Adventists 100%, we got a righteous brother. The problem we're getting in this country is that people are 1 foot in and 1 foot out. In the Assemblies of God Church too, what they have in terms of a doctrine, if people follow that firmly, among the Sunnis, among the Shiites, the Muslims in Guyana, if they follow what they have 100%, do you know sheer righteous people walk in the streets?
But what type of, or what sect of Muslims are the Nation of Islam?
No sect at all. We destroy sect. We believe sect is evil. Sect is of the devil. So we not just know, Leonard, we're from no sect. You see, the Holy Quran says there were always one ummah. The word ummah there means nation. There were always one nation. So we see ourselves as part of that one
So
nation.
do you guys go to Mecca?
If we get a chance to, all of us make intention. We already make intention to go to
Minister
Mecca. Every
Farrakhan
Muslim.
did the Mecca.
Many times. The head in Arabia, Saudi Arabia, just invited him. Just invited him because they had some issues. This you need to know. The head for Iran, which is the head for the Shiites. The head for the Shias are found in
They just
Iran.
invited him and he's gone, or he's going?
A few years ago he went to Saudi Arabia
On the basis of the invitation.
Right, correct. And they invited him in Iran. And this you need to know. The imams in Iran, they question him thoroughly because, as you said, our guidance is controversial. And then when he was finished, he asked them, how do you all think I should go back to America and teach Islam? You know what they said? Just the way you're teaching it all the time. Because there is a certain way that you have to teach the black people Islam. You cannot, just know, Leonard, you cannot teach black people Islam the same way you teach everyone else. Why? The black man in Guyana is the only man that is not going by his name, his culture, his religion, his customs, his norms. That's the only man. You meet an Indian man, oh, Mr. Kissoon, oh, Mr. Muhammad, Mr. Khan. Us, my name was Gil. Some of us name is Tree. Some of us name is Wood. Some of us name is Monday.
Some black people name White. Some black people name White.
Black people name
Mr.
White.
White.
So we're the only people that are not going by our name, and proudly so too. We're the only people that has a deity that is white. I grew up, Mr. Kissoon, in a home with a white Jesus on the wall. And you dare not say anything. Your grandmother would put 2 slaps in you. So when I met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he opened the Bible for me and he said, look, come. He had hair like lamb's wool and feet like burnished brass. And I said, wow, I didn't know that. And then I read the Quran. And the Quran says, Allah God created man out of black clay and fashioned him into shape. You see? So I was like, wow, but I didn't know that because I think so little of myself. But when you meet a man such as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you start to think better about your own self.
Right. So I understand how you view the Caucasian man. What about, say, East Indians, for example? How do they fit in to the philosophy of the Nation of Islam?
East Indians, there are many of them in the Nation of Islam in America. I was literally shocked.
Has the minister ever gone to India?
I'm not certain. That's a good question. I'm not certain on that one. But the East Indians, I was like, wow, because they announced our brother from Guyana is here with us in the audience, right? And then I see some East Indians coming walking over towards me. I'm from Guyana. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from here. You see, it's not so much about East Indians, Chinese, whites, Amerindians. It's about embracing the truth that this man made. Because Minister Louis Farrakhan have white friends that you dare not do them nothing. They're white people that's very close to him. One father figure. You maybe know him.
Just let me stop you for a while you continue. I look at that man over the decades, and isn't he half white? Isn't some one of his parents white?
Yes, it's true. He has white in him.
Yeah, he has Caucasian blood.
I have Caucasian too. It's not what you need to know, brother. What you need to know.
Specific question, not a philosophical question.
I'm gonna say it. What you saw in those cases is not interracial marriage, but is interracial rape. You need to make that known. It was not interracial marriage.
The Nation of Islam is against interracial marriage for blacks.
Correct. Because you just made a point. I didn't make it. You made a point. Because you see what if we encourage that, then they will wipe the whole world again.
Wait a minute. When the Nation of Islam says it's laid out rules is that an African American cannot marry a white.
I don't want you to use a strong word, cannot.
It's
encouraged, correct.
But that would be applied to the native indigenous Indians, East Indians. It's white.
Correct, the whites. Because the native, this you need to know again, there are many natives, but what we call Native Americans, many in the Nation of Islam. Many of them. There are groups with the Nation of Islam, groups with natives alone. Natives alone, right? And then there are natives mixed in in other groups.
If I am, before I got the consciousness of the Nation of Islam, I am already married to a white woman, already have half white kids, and I am exposed to the consciousness of Nation of Islam, and I come in to seek membership, to join up, to follow its tenets. How would I be viewed? How do I fit in? How do my wife and my children fit in?
You're welcome.
My wife.
You welcome. Because you can't blame a man for doing something in ignorance. You can't blame a man for doing so. You're welcome. You're welcome among us.
In that case, whites can slip into the Nation of Islam.
Definitely. And I like the way how you move, you slip in. I like this.
And similarly, as blacks are forbidden, quote unquote, to marry whites. Every other
But you didn't say forbidden. You said they encourage not
not
to.
forbidden.
Well, or encouraged not to.
Because you see, for the most times when we marry other people, we say it's love, you know. Oh, but I love her. But if you examine a lot of times, it's really lust. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness. You mean the black guy lost him for the
It's
what?
really lust. It's really lust. Opposite attract and like repel, Mr. Kissoon. But I want to go back to the Obama question because I missed that. You did mention that it's not 100% true that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was against Obama.
I've heard him very critical
Right,
about
very, very critical. That's true.
disparagingly
But
so.
the first time Obama ran, the first time Barack Obama ran, we supported him 100%.
That's the first time.
Yes, the minister asked the entire nation of black people
To vote for him.
to give him a chance. Why? The
Barack Hussein.
Correct. The black man is like a sleeping lion, a sleeping giant. There's a scripture,
Ready to be awakened.
correct. There's a scripture in the Bible that supports that. There is a lion in Judah asleep. Who will awaken the lion? You see, the problem in Guyana is this. See, most of these black leaders in Guyana, most of them are pussycats. I'm not going to call no name. The question is, who is going to awaken the lion that is there? A pussycat cannot awaken a lion. It takes a lion to awaken a lion.
It depends on if the lion is hungry or not.
It takes a lion to awaken a lion. So our people condition, you have to use a certain method. You have to use a certain prescription. There is no mosque in Guyana other than the Nation of Islam that teach the black man something about himself. There is no church in Guyana other than the Nation of Islam that teach the black man something about himself. And the Bible said it, man, know thyself. But most religious leaders shy away from that. Teaching a man about himself is not teaching a man to hate other people. No, I don't hate white people because my leader never taught us to hate anybody. There is not one piece of evidence, Mr. Craig, Mr. Kissoon, where the Nation of Islam hurt a white man, go into their buildings and dismantle it, throw things on it.
No.
We don't do such things.
No,
we were taught to respect anywhere where God's name is remembered.
Would you consider Malcolm X to have been a leader?
Yes, he was.
At the time? Mm-hmm. Wasn't he very, very sympathetic to the Black Panther, Black Power movement in the U.S.? Wasn't he sympathetic to picking up arms against the whites?
I would put it this way. Brother Malcolm was not just sympathetic towards the Black Panther, but he was sympathetic towards all black groups. Right? The picking up the weapons, that would have come after he left the Nation of Islam. Because as you know, we don't even carry a penknife. We don't deal with weapons, period.
So he left the Nation of Islam.
Right. After he was out of the Nation of Islam, there were some rumors that Brother Malcolm showed a photograph with a gun by any means necessary, blah, blah, blah. But I don't have the evidence to say that, yes, Brother Malcolm did pick up guns. But sympathetic toward the Black Panther, that's not 100% true. He was sympathetic towards all black groups because in the Nation of Islam, we don't care how you view us, you know. We know how we view you. Mr. Kissoon is my brother. He can deny it from now till tomorrow. You're my brother. You could deny it from now till tomorrow. You're my brother. This is not about how you view
But
me.
he's closer to you. He's a Seventh-day Adventist who believes in God.
But don't say
but
that.
I hope you would still pray for me.
No. But don't say the atheist, man. Don't say the atheist.
One of the things I want to ask
Mr.
you,
Freddie Kissoon, your work stands for yourself. Atheists don't do that kind of work.
one of the things I want to ask you, I know we wouldn't get this from the Western press. I know we wouldn't get this from the New York Times, the New York Daily Post. I know we wouldn't get it. But black people suffer terribly in the U.S. 2 years ago, when it was announced that the next Olympics is going to be in the U.S., one of the world's greatest past footballers say America's an extraordinarily racist country. That, I think, is Alan Shearer, the English footballer. Does the Nation of Islam, are there resources available to black people who get charged wrongfully, who get shot wrongfully and die? Is the Nation of Islam a fortress for black protection?
I would say yes, and we're at the forefront of that.
But you don't get the Western press coverage, right?
No,
I know you wouldn't.
Yeah, we're at the forefront with that, Mr. Kissoon, and I'm happy that you raised the idea of slavery and, you know, we're the group in America that representing for slave and stuff like that. I want to make a statement that is controversial, but I'm going to make it in any case. As black leaders in Guyana, we need to know what fight to pick. We need to know what fight to pick. Now, reparations is on the lips of most black leaders. Most black leaders address the issue of reparations. And I need to say this boldly. We were one of the first groups, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is one of the first to raise the question of reparation. One of the first. Nevertheless, whenever there are these different reparations groups, they tend to sideline the Nation of Islam. They don't call us, we don't be there, we're not partaking in anything, but we were one of the groups internationally that raised the question of reparation. And I raised that to say this. It's controversial, but I'm going to say it. Why I'm asking black leaders to know how to pick your fight. Our leader, Dr. Mohammed Infanali, is one of the Guyanese leaders that is most or ever vocal on this issue of reparations. He went all across the so-called first world, because I don't see them as first world. He went all across the so-called first world, speaking on reparations for us. Did you know what he received from some of our leaders? You know, voice for us. You can't talk for us. Mr. Kissoon, let me say this. If we are in a struggle, we need all hands on deck. If we are in a difficulty, then we take assistance from everybody. Now, why it's important for a country's leader to speak on behalf of his people, that some of them happen to be black? Because he's not coming as an individual group. He's not coming as an individual. He's speaking to a nation. Do you know how Caucasian people view us when we go as individuals? Get away. Little group. Do you know how they view us when we go as just maybe the Nation of Islam alone? Or any given black group in Guyana? They brush us to the side. But when you come as a nation, and understand this, one more final thing, Mr. Craig, understand this. This man went so deep. Speaking to the imams of Guyana, I think it's sometime early in the year, they brought a brother from America, an imam, and the president was asked to make a few remarks, and this is what he said to them. He said, I admire the fight, the bravery that you guys put up for Palestine. He said, but I've never heard any of the imams address the issue of slavery. Now, the president had to say that. I expect after he left the stage, the imam that went there would have mentioned something about slavery. He never. Because in this country, when you talk about slavery, you talk in race. Why are they bringing racism now into things? No. Slavery is a reality, Mr. Kissoon. Slavery is a reality, Mr. Craig. And I commend our president on standing firm for us, putting hands on deck. All we need to do as leaders now is follow up. He's already paved the way. Show me the next Guyanese leader that did that.
Before Leonard comes in, I just want your permission.
Yes, sir.
While you were talking, the idea or the outline for the advertisement of this program has just come to me. You know, we advertise this program early in the morning to be shown the night, and we have to say who's the guest. And you use the word pussycat. I'd like to substitute that. I like that, so I want to put that in the advertisement. I want to substitute pussycat for betrayers. You said black leaders are pussycats. Can I substitute betrayers for pussycat? Would that be all right?
Betrayal?
Betrayal.
Betrayal a little harsh, though.
Okay.
That's a little harsh.
Well, I have to find a... Well, then I'll use your exact word. Okay.
Yeah, pussycat.
No.
Because see, betrayal is on the same level of hypocritical. You don't want to go so strong.
I am getting from you that the Nation of Islam, especially in Guyana, has no issue working with other groups that claim to represent black interest in Guyana. For example, AGDA, Coffee 250 group and so on. You guys are willing to work with these other groups to further the interests of blacks in Guyana. What about politics? Do you have a political stance? How do you view political parties in Guyana generally?
Well, basically, let me put it this way. My leader said to us as a people, wherever we found, vote your interest. Vote your interest only mean those who are looking out for you, vote for them. See? So we don't tell our people, just vote for this man because he's an Indian. Vote for him because he's Amerindian. Vote for him because he's black. No.
Vote for your interest.
Vote your interest. All right. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Craig, you would have to live with that. Now, on the issue of do we cooperate with other black groups? Yes, but I would prefer to say we cooperate with groups that is willing
to further your interest.
To further not only our interests, but is willing to worship God. Because let me tell you something. If you left the Creator out of anything, that thing isn't valid. And that's the problem with us. We moving forward, but we're not moving forward with the very person and the force that is responsible for us being here.
But if there is a group that believes in the worship of their ancestors, or the spirit of their ancestors, or whatever definition you put to it, and they claim, and as you could see, you go certain parts in West Africa where the majority of the enslaved were taken from and brought to the New World. And in West Africa, that practice of paying homage to the ancestors still exists. Why are you willing, or I shouldn't say that, are you writing off that as not communicating with the Creator, or not religious?
Not at all, not at all. I think more what you're trying to get out to me is that if there's a group that get involved in giving respect to the ancestors, if we, the Nation of Islam, would cooperate with them in different projects, yes. And here I would answer that one. We are willing to cooperate with any group that wants to clean up Guyana mentally, morally, psychologically, and spiritually. Any group that wants to clean up Guyana. Now, this is the system we use. Group A uses 6 and 4. Group B uses 7 and 3. Another group uses 9 and 1. Another group use 10 and 0. Now the common denominator is what? Guyana needs to be cleaned up mentally, morally, spiritually, psychologically. We have our differences. But unity to me is not all of us wearing a bow tie. Mr. Kissoon wear a long tie, wear a bow tie. You wear no tie. Unity to me is when all of us do different things, correct? All of us do different things with the same motive, maybe at a different time, maybe even a different place, but to achieve the same goal. Do you know how deep I go with unity? I heard Mr. Kissoon always talk about his wife. I talk about my wife too, all the time. All of us have differences with our wife. I'm not asking, I'm telling you. But at the end of the day, when Mr. Kissoon is going to relieve himself to that bed, that's his wife. He loves her. Mr. Kissoon, Mr. Craig, I do it too. We put aside our differences for the common goal. See? And serious differences too. Many of us have serious differences.
Before Craig come in, I just want to make a slight unimportant point. You say, I wear a long tie. Well, I know you dressing like your leader.
Yes, sir.
Your leader dressing just like that. Your leader dressing, in case the viewers didn't know.
Direct question.
Right.
In when was Obama's first term? 2008?
Yes.
Yes. Louis Farrakhan said to the Nation of Islam, and I think you repeated it,
right.
Give Obama your support.
Correct.
And he, though critical of Obama's place in society, he praised Obama the person and asked that people vote for him. But he was highly, highly critical of his place in society, that in other words, saying that Obama is a servant of the whites and is part of the system that oppresses black and whatever. So I'm coming to Guyana.
But let me clarify something in that. What the minister said is that he was selected before he was elected. Continue.
So I'm coming to Guyana. And I'm just making a nexus there. Your leader told the followers directly, vote for this man. Are you prepared in 2025, for example, and did you in 2020, 2015 and years past specifically ask or direct your congregation to vote for a specific candidate, as you said, vote for your interests? Have you done that evaluation, and will you do that for the 2025 election?
Well, for the 2025 election, I can answer that one first. No. I would not tell anybody who to vote for except vote for your interests. I want to say something about Obama. I'm coming to that question. I want to say something about Obama again. The minister see in Obama the potential, sincerely, of one that could have changed America. We all know what happened. We're not going on that line. But what you need to know is that the second time Mr. Barack Obama ran, he was forced to denounce the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And who did that? I'm going to look for it and send it to you, the speech, and send it to you. It was Hillary Clinton. He was being interviewed by one of the people, and Hillary Clinton was sitting next to him. And she forced Obama to deny, to talk down the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to denounce him, which he did. Yeah, I know. The second time he ran, the minister came out and said, you will not use me against my brother. You will not use my voice as a voice to talk down my brother. That was the first election. Vote for him still. Now, with all this going on, there is something that we didn't know. The second time the minister take a hands-down approach, he didn't get involved. After Obama finished 8 years of service, Minister Louis Farrakhan brought out a photograph that he took with Obama that he never made public. Never made public. He brought that photograph and he said, "Here what? This man was always my friend." So the two were always communicating because the minister felt that Obama could have been that change for us. But he's out of politics now. Why not try and pull a last card till you can make a change for us as a people? I would ask myself that. But coming home to Guyana, yes, I did. Yes, I did. In my young days, I grew up in a place named Linden. Linden is predominantly a PNC town, across the board, predominantly PNC. So as a young man, we just vote because grandmother say you're PNC, grandfather say you're PNC, uncle. But as I come into consciousness, the AFC pop up. I think that was 2006. That's the first time.
Yeah.
2006. And I said, wow, with my analytic mind, this sounds good. Indian, black, coming together. This is what Barnum and Chetty wanted to see. And your viewers maybe already know that the CIA worked night and day to break up Barnum and Chetty, because they know if Barnum and Chetty had stayed together, Guyana would have been on course and becoming the best nation on earth, in my opinion. So when I heard about this, Indian and black AFC, said, wow, give them a chance. I went and I gave them a chance. In 2011, that was Mr. Ramatar. I didn't just ask to vote. I literally campaigned with Mr. Ramatar. Mr. Craig, I campaigned with Mr. Ramatar and see him become successful as the president of Guyana. Of course, you know what I went, minority government, blah, blah, blah. In 2015, I felt that there was time for us to give a change. Give a change because Mr. Granger team up with the AFC. Yeah. So he said, you know what? This is looking good.
Yes.
Give Mr. Granger a chance. That I did. We're not going to go into how I felt afterwards, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Fast forward to 2025. Even though I, Dennis Muhammad, would not get on a platform and say vote X, vote Y, vote Z. See, Mr. Craig, Mr. Kissoon, whenever finance is available to you and you have the heart, you can look good. Let me make this final statement then. Mr. Dr. Mohamedin Fanali, the president of Guyana, is looking well because of the finance that is available to him. And in my opinion, he has the heart. So it's not just having the money, but you have to have the heart for humanity.
We gotta go. Our point is we gotta go quickly.
No. I'm saying if you
reply quickly on.
If you're convinced of, because Louis Farrakhan has never shied away from commenting on American politics openly, right? And you are in the leadership lineage and representative of in Guyana. Why not be direct with your politics and your comments?
It's a good question.
And I think we should bring me back.
Yeah, on that good question, we have to leave. He's Seventh-day Adventist. I am atheist, and you, the Nation of Islam. So thanks for being with us here. We have to do this again. Leonard, thanks for coming.
Anytime.
Thanks for being with us. You were watching the Nation of Islam's representative in Guyana and his strong views on philosophy, ethnicity, American society, Obama, what have you. So we will see you on Friday for our calling program. Take care and catch you later, as I usually say. Bye-bye.